how easy is it for you to take our back-end storage and apply it to a VMS that's on VIF compliant? Is it we should just be able to take that stream and pull it right in, correct?
It's ridiculously simple, Eric. You really have to consider this another camera on your fixed video network. So this is just an extension of that fixed video network that's an IP camera and streaming over Wi-Fi.
Welcome back to another episode of Push to Talk, sponsored by BeckTech, a Barbeck company. Today we have Joe Brady from Motorola Solutions with us remote from North Carolina, a retired Chicago police officer, 20 plus years, Joe?
Right at 20.
20 years. He went to the dark side here with us and Motorola and joined the first-person video, the video solutions team at Motorola. And obviously, from what I just said there, we're going to talk a little bit about first-person video, and we're also going to talk mobile video as well today. So thank you for coming on, Joe. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and hopping on here to talk a little bit about first-person video, mobile video, and whatever else you may want to share with us today. And will you just give us a little bit of background about yourself? I know I mentioned that you were a police officer for 20 years, and how does that affect your role with Motorola, and how has it influenced your role with Motorola?
Sure, Eric. First, thanks for doing this. This is really cool that you're hosting these series of podcasts and answering the question of did you know? I think this is fantastic that you're doing this. So I started my career small police department outside of Chicago, an agency called Darien, very small police department. Actually, I was a police cadet in Tinley Park before that, but went to a very large police department, the city of Chicago, and then ended my career in a very small police department back here in North Carolina. But going over to the dark side, not really the dark side. I look around. I've had a Motorola radio. No, I know. But it's switching sides, like going from one side of the fence to the other, because it's certainly interesting being an end user versus being someone providing a solution and having to deal with all those things that our customers like to complain about sometimes with us, which is understandable being on both ends of it, but at the same time praising us for the things that we do. And I look at Motorola always having that radio at my side, the emergency button, the first MDTs or mobile data terminals that we had in the cars. And then when I was with the City of Chicago Police Department, Motorola stepped up. They donated quite a bit of money to build the Chicago Police Memorial outside of Soldier Field.
That's awesome.
So the next time you're at a Bears game, you're out on the lakefront, take a look at the Chicago Police Memorial, and you will see a Batwing right below the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation logo. So
and
just very proud awesome to see those two things side by side.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about first-person video here. What is first-person video to the average person out there? It's kind of a different term. Most of them hear a different term on the news. Explain first-person video and why it's important for not only public safety to have, but maybe the private sector as well, too.
When we say body-worn cameras, we are immediately drawn to police. And there are certain thoughts that go in mind with body-worn cameras that only the cops wear them. I have to treat this evidence differently. Again, only cops wear them. And really what we want to do is take fixed video that's everywhere. That, from my perspective, we've become kind of blind to fixed video. And we want to extend that fixed video footprint to include first-person video with these devices. Now, why these types of devices? Because in all my years in law enforcement, I've always known there's three sides to every story. My side, your side, and the independent witness, the truth. And that's where these cameras come into play. That first person's perspective of audio and video documenting what really happened to either protect an employee or if the employee does something wrong, use that for training purposes, or if they have to dismiss that employee. Again, having that independent witness in the room, at the scene, in the conversation.
Yeah, it helps hold, that maybe that violent offender accountable, right? Or maybe it holds the police officer accountable, right? There's a lot.
Or the clerk in a grocery store.
Exactly.
So certainly from the clerk's perspective, having a camera on and triggering it and saying, I'm going to turn this camera on for your protection and mine. That in and of itself is a de-escalator. People see it. Suddenly they think, oh my goodness, I'm on video now, because they don't pay attention to the video cameras in the sky. So they have that first person perspective, a de-escalator, and also to empower the employee to let them know that, hey, the company's got your back. We're going to record this footage. In fact, we're going to tie it to our Wi-Fi system. We're going to stream it back to our ACC control center, Unity control center, and we're going to see your camera turned on, and we're going to send additional help your way. So all those things to protect the employee.
That's awesome. And most people, like you said, refer to body cameras with public safety, or they think about that, right? Police, I'm starting to see a lot more interaction with fire, ambulance. I think you maybe had mentioned retail. Just a couple stats here, just about violent crimes, right? And just in a retail area, we see it every day on the news. People are going in, shoplifting. What was it? Walgreens are shutting down stores. There's other companies that are out there that will only do drive-throughs in certain areas because of the crime that's happening. In a retail setting, 90% experience verbal abuse, 75% report violent crime. So 75% of all retail shops out there, right, have some sort of violent crime that happens inside their store. And then you're talking about, the people that work there and the employees that work there, almost a 40% turnover rate, or people thinking, hey, I want to quit my job because it just isn't worth it, right? It's not worth the pay. It's not worth my time. Why would I subject myself to this? So I think it's a market that's really untapped from your perspective, my perspective, from the first-person video and why it's important, at least retail, to have it. What are other type of markets is Motorola trying to tap into, trying to extend their first-person video into? Does it just stop at retail? Yeah. Does it go into hospitals? Does it go into manufacturing? What are you guys seeing on your end?
So just first, you mentioned the word untapped potential with this. And Keith Morris and I from Motorola with Disti have had this conversation about technologies that have been untapped. And 5 years ago, it was unheard of. We would have been hanging Wi-Fi radios on people's networks.
Right.
And now this is becoming kind of a normal thing. In the UK, this is ubiquitous. We see these things everywhere. They've been everywhere for 20 years. They're making their way to North America. And I agree with Keith. In 5 years, this is going to be just another device that stores are going to have to protect their employees. So you have voice verification, that voice lifeline, and you'll have video verification. Those two things side by side, handheld, body worn. See those two appliances side by side protecting employees. In terms of markets to go into, Eric, I'm not going to lie. Every day, it's a new market that someone brings a use case to me saying, how can we fit first-person video into that workflow to protect our employee, to put bad guys away, to de-escalate a situation, just to document what's happening. Give you a couple examples if that's okay.
Yeah.
Nurses doing home healthcare visits, getting verbally and physically abused by patients. You mentioned those statistics of physical abuse and verbal abuse. When a nurse goes in by themselves, a lone employee going out in the field, again, 3 sides to every story. What really happened? Having independent witness in the room, it documents it soup to nuts to protect that employee. So from the nurse's perspective, kind of see it twofold to protect that employee, but there's a double-edged sword to it. It's to keep the employee honest, to make sure they're doing their job. They're not abusing the patient. They're not underdosing the patient, giving the incorrect meds to the patient. So there's two sides to really benefit both the employee and the patient in having that independent witness in the room.
I never would have thought of that. The in-home nurse. What a great application.
You mentioned retail, that some of these brick and mortars are shutting down, and I think about Target. And we try to do these things we could do to put stuff behind cases and have call boxes. We as Motorola are trying to come up with more solutions to make this easier for the customer and for the companies to save money, because organized retail crime is an absolute mess in this country.
Yep.
But then I look at employees of Amazon doing home deliveries, and they're getting shot at or attacked for whatever they have in their car. And again, having first-person perspective video, whether it's in their vehicle or on their person making this delivers, just document what happened. It's crazy that we have to do this, to have that independent witness on the road, in the room with them making these deliveries, so that if something bad does happen, we have the irrefutable evidence to send to court to prosecute.
Yeah, because it's always recording, correct?
Well, it could be configured to always record. Absolutely, it can be.
Or you'll have, you guys have the record after the fact to where when you turn it on, it goes back a minute, 30 seconds, however long you want it to go.
So we refer to that as pre-record. Record after the fact was specific to the legacy WatchGuard systems that Motorola acquired WatchGuard in late 2019. So we do have pre and post recording on these devices up to 2 minutes. We're looking at scaling that beyond that. And there's a pro and con with starting to turn on pre and post recording. It means the camera's always recording. So we have to think about things of reasonable expectations of privacy. How do we turn the camera off?
Right.
And then anytime we're always recording like that, it puts a stress on the battery. It means the battery's always recording.
Yeah, let's talk about the battery life there. There's a lot of devices on the market. I'm starting to see like Hanwha jump in and Axis and some of these other fixed video partners. Manufacturers are out there. They're trying to jump into the body camera game, right? The body worn camera game. Can you talk a little bit about the features of that? The device you're holding up is the VB400, and it's kind of the commercial retail tier of Motorola's product line. But like you said, it's prevalent. It's what's used for police over in UK, right? It's pretty much saturated the market over there in Europe. Can you talk about some of the enhanced features that you guys have brought over to the States with that product, like battery life, the recording? I know there's some integration with radios and on the turbo side, the Moto Turbo side, right? Can you kind of talk about those a little bit for us?
Sure. So first, I want to talk about I hate the word integration. So what's interesting about Motorola is we've acquired all these companies in order to connect these solutions to bring them into our ecosystem. And this is a story unique to Motorola.
Yes,
so our other competitors out there, they can't tell the story of marrying together a radio and an emergency button with a body worn camera and having the app. They can't do that. I would imagine they would want to tell that story, but this is unique to us. And then to take the same camera, take the video footage from here and stream it into an OnViv compliant VMS system, whether it's a Motorola solution or anyone else that's out there that's OnViv compliant.
OnViv is the standard, right?
Correct. OnViv is the standard that we would stream into. So we just use a standard video stream.
Awesome.
But some other kind of things, you talked about battery life. Battery life on this camera, the spec sheet says 12. We know we have some friends at some 3-letter agencies that tested this camera, and it ran almost 15 hours. So there's limitations to it. There's a balance. So to say I have a 12-hour battery on here with 64 gig, I can record at 1080p, 720p, or 360p, depending on the resolution I record at. That's really going to determine how much I can really record, regardless of how good the battery is and how long I can record for. If I record at 1080p at 64 gig, probably going to run out of storage space at about 11 hours and some minutes.
Yep. What about, you mentioned Wi-Fi, maybe Wi-Fi connectivity. Is there LTE connectivity that's getting on the public safety side? We're seeing the VB700s from the WatchGuard team, the Motorola Solutions team, have a connection to LTE. Go ahead.
Yeah, with this particular camera, it's Wi-Fi only. And we can connect to LTE-enabled devices like an Ion. That's a hotspot. So this is an LTE hotspot. It's a Wi-Fi connection. Then I can stream over this.
Yep.
We do have, Motorola has we have two LTE-enabled cameras. One is the V700 on the mobile video side for public safety, purpose-built for public safety. And then in rest of world, we have a camera called the V500, which is an LTE version for rest of world, not for North America. Different chipset, has to deal with Europe. So we do have an LTE offering, but let's talk about LTE. It's cool, but there's a price associated with pushing 1080p video uphill. So someone has to bear that price. So I have a hard enough challenge sometimes with IT directors who are overworked and underpaid. I get it, that we want to make things easy for them. So can we stream over Wi-Fi? All day long. If we're going to do it, let's talk about what that up looks like and maybe stream 360p over this to their network and put a copy someplace and maybe even dedicate an IP network, a Wi-Fi network to the cameras. Because I really feel this is a life safety system that when I hit record, I want it to go back to that VMS, that single pane of glass.
Yep.
I want the alert coming out. I want a life safety system. So maybe dedicate something with a certain band load requirement in place.
Awesome. And VMS, video management software. I've talked a lot on my podcast about Avigilon and had another company on the other day talking about their VMS as well too. So quickly, we're talking about streaming. We can and kind of leading into the storage portion of this. Doesn't take a whole lot. You get 64 gigs on the back of the VB400 for storage.
The device.
Yep. Obviously, in the video world, there's so many settings, right? You just kind of mentioned it: 360, 720, 1080p. How long you record for, how long pre-record, how long you pre-record for, could all alter your storage rates. But the nice thing about it, you said the ONVIF compliancy, which is the open network standards here in North America. Anybody that's doing fixed video or any type of video should be complying with those standards. If they're not, I would highly recommend that you do a little research and figure out why that you should comply with those. But the fact that it's open platform, you can take, so like that security director or the ER nurse or whoever else, or I've had a little story. We have a utility company we've been working with, and they were actually looking at potentially putting body cameras on their meter guys because of the same reason. You go out, you could get shot for turning off power, turning off water, that type of thing. But how easy is it for you to take our back-end storage and apply it to a VMS that's ONVIF compliant? Is it we should just be able to take that stream and pull it right in, correct?
It's ridiculously simple, Eric. You really have to consider this another camera on your fixed video network. So this is just an extension of that fixed video network. That's an IP camera and streaming over Wi-Fi.
Now, let's talk about ACC 7 or 8, ACC 8, the Unity platform. Is it just an extra license cost that you just have to license the camera, or is it more or less just pull in the data with your how do you upload it to that VMS?
You need a license for the device to hang on the Unity network, and then you just connect the camera to it.
Awesome. What's
we'll
typical?
More challenges. Yeah, we'll have more challenges working through the Wi-Fi connectivity,
right? Yeah,
than we will actually connecting to Unity.
What's typical storage on a fixed video camera? If you want 30 days, it's approximately a terabyte for 30 days, and about 5 megapixels. Right. What is there an average storage cost or average storage per 30 days that you recommend? I think it's usually a little bit less than 1 terabyte, but.
It typically is, but what we'll recommend is whatever your policies are for retention, sharing, redaction for fixed video, extend those to include first-person video. Extend those to include these body-worn cameras so that you're not caught in a gotcha of, oh, you saved the fixed video longer or the body-worn longer. No, right. Apply the same policies because this, again, it's another camera on the network. Now, if something does become evidentiary, then put those policies in place, pull that video down, protect it, put it on cold storage, separate it from your normal, I hate the word routine, but the routine video that ends up in that system that just kind of writes over itself after 30 days. But have the policies be aligned.
Yeah. Is there any retention policies that you know of that outside of public safety? Yeah. I think Illinois, it's at least 60 to 90 days that they would have to keep some of their fixed videos, some of their body camera footage, from a broad perspective. Is it just, dependent on the customer?
So it's a great question, and it is customer to customer because every customer is going to have their own set of policies and procedures that they have to abide by when it comes to retaining and deleting video, and even then sharing the video. So think about all the things they already do with video: hospitals, schools, grocery stores. Everyone has these fixed video cameras up, and they have policies associated with it. So they just need to keep these things aligned with it. It's going to also be state by state because every state, depending on the vertical they're in, is going to tell them, hey, you need to hold it longer. And obviously law enforcement has different standards that they have to hold it to. But I would really recommend talking to the attorneys within an organization, see what the current policy is and mirror those, or look at state law as well. Because as Motorola, even though I was a cop, I'm not in the business of giving legal advice. So please check. Me neither. Check what your policies are, check what your state law is, and then stay in compliance with that. I think if you take the path of our fixed video policy is 30, 60, 90 days, and we delete and we extend it to first person, I feel we'd be in a pretty good place.
Yeah. Anything else on policies, from the person that may just implement it from the beginning? Are you just saying, hey, counsel with an attorney, counsel with, maybe a chief of police or something like that? What from the customer that's just newly implementing, first person video? Any advice or suggestions, when it comes to policies, liabilities, that type of thing?
So it starts with having that conversation of not calling it a body worn camera. That helps. I know it's optics. It seems weird, but it
Yeah.
helps get people comfortable with this. Just another camera on their network. So they get comfortable with that. And the minute we start asking, hey, do you have that policy in place already for your fixed video system? They all start shaking their heads, whether it's in a hospital or a school. Great. So with hospitals, schools especially, we have HIPAA, we have FERPA. We need to stay in compliance with those rules that are in place to protect their data. So we tell the customers, hey, are you going to host this on premise in servers that you already use that are HIPAA compliant? And they're probably going to shake their head and go, yes. Same thing with schools with being FERPA compliant. So it's just a matter of marrying those policies are in place. Another video camera, another bit of data that they have to own and maintain based on current policies and procedures.
Awesome. Is there, what about cloud? I've seen a lot of fixed video go to cloud. Motorola acquired Ava a couple of years ago, a cloud-based fixed video system. We sell it a ton. We love it a lot. A lot of our customers like it for the ease of use, ease of deployment. Is there anything on the roadmap outside of the V700s from the public safety side that's cloud for the commercial tier customer?
So we do have a cloud offering and as a service offering available for it. We're looking to get that pushed into the channel to make that available for you guys to sell to your customers. But Eric, to be honest, we're seeing more and more pushback from customers that they don't want the cloud. They don't want another as a service offering. They don't want another monthly bill for a device. They want that CapEx purchase. They want to own and maintain their data where they stand. Now, it doesn't have to be our cloud. So that said, I think of a school that we deployed in Georgia, that they wanted to put our software, our video manager software, the digital evidence management system in the cloud. But when it comes down to it, the cloud's not really the cloud. The cloud is a computer someplace else.
Right.
So the school virtualized a computer, a central server, put the software in there and attached all the cameras and directed them all to those central server that has redundant distribution to back up that data as well. So you could deploy the software anywhere you want. I have a small tow truck company that has 8 different sites. They deployed the software on a server, literally in someone's closet, made the public IP address visible, connected them all with DC200, and they have a cloud system.
Awesome.
It's not really a cloud system.
Right.
No, it's just a central server connect. You're right. It's on a network is all that it is.
Yep.
But going back to the as a service offering, where Motorola hosting the cloud is an as a service offering. Police departments really like it for budgeting purposes. They like that. $29 per camera per month. We know what we're getting into. We'll get a 5-year deal with you guys. Good. We're good to go. We don't have to manage it on site. IT doesn't get involved. Less problems, quicker procurement path. But we're seeing more and more customers say, hey, listen, we want to put something outside of our network gapped on a server that we could talk back and forth to, but there has to be a gap in it, and it can't be the cloud. It can't be AWS. It can't be Microsoft Azure. It has to be theirs. They have to own it and maintain it because it is a CapEx purchase.
Awesome.
So what's nice about this system, Eric, is we'll meet the customer anywhere they want to stand in terms of deploying and owning and maintaining their data. So the minute we put it in the cloud, we get the perception that Motorola is owning and maintaining their data. No, it's still the customer's data, whether it's in Amazon or Azure or on a laptop computer. Wouldn't recommend it. It's the customer's data hosted in our video manager software.
Awesome. Let's talk about training a little bit. How easy is it to deploy? I know you just kind of you hinted on a couple things here and there on the software and the amount of time it takes to download, which is what, 5-10 minutes, if that.
Yep.
Can you talk about kind of how you guys would go about training a customer that's deploying this for the first time? What are kind of the accessories or the things that we would implement to make everything go smoothly?
Sure. So just taking a step back, the acquisition of ETA6, who makes this camera, they've been in this business for over 20 years. So this is not new technology. It's new to Motorola. It was from acquisition about 5 years ago. ETA6 had been doing this all across Europe for, like I said, 20 years. The system's self-deployable. People don't believe us when we say that. When we provide the documentation that's built in, you follow the instructions step by step, you could be up and running in 10 minutes. I'm not kidding. So on a laptop, I proved it at CPE
Yep.
last year. We installed the software and got a camera connected, had a user created, docked the camera, hit record, and away we went. And it was all in under 5 minutes is what we did it. So it can be deployed that quickly. Now, that said, there's lots of things that we could do with this system. It's not just a matter of downloading the software, connecting, creating a user, and recording. We can create profiles for every camera, every button, every light, every buzz, every user of what they can and cannot do in the system. And then we can get more complicated, like pairing it with an Ion radio, connecting it to ACC or a Unity platform or a third-party VMS. So there's lots of things that we can do, but we can quickly get the system up and running so that they can get the experience of using this camera. Now, that said, in terms of deployment as well, we partnered with a universal mounting company on the back of this camera called ClickFast. And ClickFast is a Peter Jones company in the UK. I think they make over 30 different mounting options for these things, most right around $20, commercial off the shelf. So you don't have to buy a mount that was made by Motorola. You could buy something commercial off the shelf and have so much flexibility in terms of where you're going to wear your camera on your person. Because let's face it, none of us are shaped the same way.
Yep.
So we like to say we have a shoe for every foot when it comes to wearing this camera on our bodies so that users are comfortable with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Last couple points on the VB400 before we switch over to mobile video here.
Sure.
You talked about pairing the device with an Ion, and I believe you can also pair it with an R7, right? They have the
That's
orange
correct.
button on top, right? The emergency button. So even if the customer does not have fixed video, they could deploy the system and tie it into their digital radio system, correct?
Correct. Now, Ion today, we're still finishing the certification for that emergency button because it's a life safety system. We have to certify these things. So R7 done, Apex done. So we have those two things checked. More and more of these are coming. As you see all of our new radios with the orange buttons come out, they will have that connectivity to our cameras. Not an integration because we're Motorola. We've acquired all these companies. We're connecting these solutions into the ecosystem. You keep hearing me say this because this is our story to tell. Our competitors can't tell this story. They want to tell this story. They can't. They don't have you guys. They don't work with partners. They go to market direct. So this is really our story to tell, and I'm excited about it.
So you're saying that if I turned on the body camera, right? I flipped it on or hit that button, and I went to go start recording an incident, that would in turn connect to the two-way radio, right, back to the system and send an emergency alert out to any talk group, or customers like to call them channels on the system, to let them know that there's an incident going on, correct?
There's some dots that we can connect with that, yeah. And what you just described, we would come back to Orchestrate, and we would do it through Orchestrate and Unity is how we would do that, and then push those alerts out over the radio saying, hey, radio camera activate, start pushing those notifications out. So the Orchestrate team, they're doing an awesome job. We're working with them side by side to see how these technologies fit with one another within the ecosystem. And again, with the mobile video products, body worn and some other stuff that we have, we're unique. We're right down the middle of all things enterprise security, fixed video, access control, as well as radio. So these solutions, these mobile video solutions, they're bringing these two groups together.
Yeah, it's from our perspective.
Great story.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Our customers have all gravitated towards this Solving for Safer platform, formerly Safety Reimagined, as they knew it. But we're starting to see more and more manufacturers, school districts kind of hop on board because of this integration that's going on.
Connections, not integration. We're
connections.
Solutions, yeah.
Yeah, especially with the Orchestrate platform and the workflows that you can tie together to make all these connections possible. So
it's a powerful story. And again, look around. No one else in the world can tell this story.
Yep. And it's amazing. You guys are $6 billion into this, acquiring more and more companies. They just acquired a couple more companies within the last few months. You guys aren't going to stop growing. Last point on the first-person video, last question. For someone that has thought about it, maybe this is a retail shop, a hospital system, maybe it's the director of security. Why first-person video? If they have apprehension, why first-person video again?
So for those that you just described, kind of makes sense. De-escalation, document, independent witness makes sense from our perspective in security. Let's take one that might not make sense to you. A guy that's going to come to my house and do work at my house, maybe getting rid of spider webs and things like that at my house. And I want to accuse him of doing something wrong, that he came to my house, he yelled at me, he showed up late, he was rude, he kicked my cat, he sprayed my windows with his spray, and I want to file a complaint. And I go to file a complaint and I call up and I accuse their person of doing all these things wrong. And the manager says, okay, let me check his body worn camera footage. So I lied because I wanted my services for free and I wanted to sue them. And suddenly they have first person video documented everything soup to nuts. And I'm going to hang up because I don't have a leg to stand on. So having that independent witness in the room just trued somebody up.
Yeah.
Like they were mad, maybe they got in a fight with the guy, but having this camera there, document everything end to end, kind of changes their story. So that saved that manager time and having to deal with complaint, money, hiring attorney fees, or having to fire an employee or discipline an employee or train an employee. So think of all the time and money that's saved just having a camera on their operator, seatbelt to seatbelt, doing their job every day.
Awesome.
Lots of jobs out there like that where they have to interact with the public.
Yep.
And there could be somebody could be accused of he said, she said.
Yep. You just never know anymore, do you?
Yeah. And just some takeaway points about this camera that I always like to leave everybody with, because we asked the question, what's the difference between us and our competitors? And I'll hit on some big ones. The first is that this is a CapEx sale, and we sell the license with the camera, not the user. Our licensing for these cameras is perpetual. There's no recurring fees for the license. So it's the life of the camera. You can have unlimited users on the system. Administrators, people doing redaction, because redaction software is built in. It's manual redaction, but it's built in. Operators, you can even do judicial sharing from the platform and create a login user for your local media, for public information officers, for the court system, for police departments. So you could share all this video from our system, this digital evidence management platform, and there's no additional fees for that. Those are
awesome.
just more users you can create in the system. And then the last one is we have the ability to check out cameras or allocate cameras using RFID cards. So I don't have to remember my username or my password. I can walk up to an RFID reader, swipe the card, camera is immediately allocated to me. I think we're going to see more and more of our Motorola Solutions technologies maybe leverage that RFID allocation system, start connecting the dots in your own head of things that you could do with checking out other devices and assigning a profile and assigning a user to a radio, for example.
That's
so
awesome.
Lots of cool things that can happen.
Very cool. Very cool. We'll switch to mobile video, and let's talk about Motorola's acquisition of Vigilant several years ago, and the L6Q, the L6A camera, and we just give our the public just some knowledge on what the L6Q is and what the Vigilant technology is, and what we're doing.
So, right, in January 2019, I worked for Vigilant. Actually, we were called Video Analytics as a Service was the name of the company. And we had three different hats that we wore. One was Vigilant, public safety driven, doing a lot of great in license plate recognition, ALPR, automated license plate recognition. We had a commercial division called DRN, which still operates as a Motorola Solutions company. They're on the enterprise side of LPR, doing things with the financial industry. And the last leg of that acquisition was ETA6. So Vigilant, ETA6 was owned by Vigilant. So all those things kind of tie together, which is kind of how I'm still involved with all these kind of three legs. But license plate recognition, first and foremost, for the police catching bad guys. And there's so many great stories being told every day that we can't share with the public of the good deeds that this technology does in saving lives and catching bad guys, just the right things for the right reasons with the technology. Really the industry leader globally with license plate recognition and the data that goes behind it. Now, we know there are other companies out there that have been aggressive these last couple of years, and they've done a pretty decent job out there of getting people comfortable with LPR and then getting in trouble for it as well. So there's that back and forth battle, because some people see LPR as the greatest thing since sliced bread. Some see it as the work of the devil, that it's Big Brother incarnate, and it's just a matter of getting people out there and educating people about the platforms. And I like to ask the question, did you know? And we have a lot of customers that don't know that Motorola does body-worn cameras outside public safety. And then they certainly don't know that Motorola does LPR. Now, prior to acquisition, Vigilant partnered with another company doing LPR, and it was a platform, it was a software platform, not purpose-built cameras that worked okay. but it wasn't the right solution. It wasn't true license plate recognition technology. So now we're introducing some cameras, some hardware, some software from the Vigilant platform acquisition and getting these tied into the Vigilant system for security purposes. Continuing to do the part on the public safety side with both fixed and mobile LPR. We have a number of different options when it comes to LPR cameras. You named two of them. One was the L6Q, which is a quick deploy.
Yep.
And
That's the solar paneled one.
Well, it doesn't have to run off solar panel anymore. So we could do batteries, we could do solar, we could also plug power right into it now.
That's
so
awesome.
Lots of cool things that can be done with it. It has an LTE chip in it, or we could tie it right into data as well. So that can become a streaming camera. But it's a matter of finding the right shoe for the application,
right?
Because all the cameras operate just a little bit differently. So we have a number of different fixed cameras. We have an application for an iPhone that you could scan license plates from your iPhone. In fact, I have an application for my Ion radio that I could scan license plates and turn my Ion radio into an LPR reader.
Oh,
Nobody
that's
else
amazing.
can do that. So we use our software to do that. Yeah, there's some software to do that. We could do that. And then it all ties back to our database. So whether it's an L6Q quick deploy, an L5M, which is a mobile purpose built for law enforcement,
Yep.
but we have other folks using those as well, or a camera on an interstate, an L5F, fixed camera, high speeds, multiple lanes. We have trailers that we put the cameras on for speed trailers, but also for capturing that license plate information. And then all these mobile devices. And then the last bit is we have a software platform called Link, Linc, that essentially we could turn, I don't want to say any because it's not fair, but we could turn some really good bullet cameras into license plate readers.
Wow, that's
it's
awesome.
all going to depend on ambient conditions that are going around, light conditions, angle of the camera, how far it is up. We have all these tools in place on the Vigilant side to help customers sort that out. We also have tools built in and resources in place on the Vigilant side, the mobile video side, that could find out whether it's legal or illegal in your state for non-public safety to have license plate recognition going on, how long you can keep it for. So we want to abide. We talked about the cameras for the fixed or the first person video and the laws. The laws are a little bit stricter when it comes to license plate recognition. So we want to be careful about that. We want to educate our end users, our partners, and just let people know that it's a really great technology for doing a lot of awesome things. And those awesome things could be scanning license plates to catch bad guys, to alert the police that a bad guy's on my property, or things of that nature. We've seen others using it for marketing purposes, pulling zip codes from the information, then doing direct marketing. So you think of oil change places or car washes along major highways, collecting all the LPR data, and then doing a marketing campaign based on zip codes. I mean, it's brilliant to be able to do this, and it's that easy.
And the reasoning behind the LPR cameras, they get access to everybody else's LPR. So if, a database, correct?
So not necessarily. What they do get access to is their database. So
Okay.
if they start hanging cameras up, they own and maintain their data for as long as they want, based on what the law allows them to do on premise. What they could also do is they could share their data with other companies. So, let's say we're in a shopping mall and we have an anchor store, and that anchor store puts that LPR, and they want to share it with all the other stores in their store or in their region or in their state.
Yes.
They can do that. They can share their data the way they see fit. They could also share it with public safety. Now, they cannot get access to the public safety data.
Right.
We house that separately for CJIS purposes. We keep that data housed separately. In terms of the commercial database that Motorola has, it's about 60 billion scans now.
Wow.
Mostly being used by law enforcement for investigation purposes, to try to find where a bad guy was or is going to be, most likely going to be. That database is really set by permissible use. We have to have the right use case to be able to access that database, because we don't want to sell this to a grocery store and have them go in and look up someone's, where someone's ex-girlfriend lives, and then go do bad things to them. So we really have to be careful controlling that data. We just don't give everyone the keys to it. And we provide those cautions. Even when you log into the system, it provides a warning. Every time you log into this, use this data for the right reasons. Don't misuse it, because you could be held accountable to it.
Right.
So sharing their own data, any cameras that they put up, they need to own it and share it based on their own policies, whether it's internally with employees or with other grocery stores, other retail associations, whether gas stations and car washes. They want to share it with the police. If they want to share it with other organized retail crime associations, because there's lots of these taking place right now. There's some integrators out there doing some great work with LPR data, pulling in all this data together and offering it up and helping people connect dots to solve cases, to connect bad guys and put them in jail, put them in prison.
And that's amazing. And they're putting these cameras up so they can track, and go back and look at who's done what to their property or driven by. Public safety is using it all the time. I know our public safety teams around here are using LPR. Got a lot of cameras up in the Decatur area and the central Illinois area. And I know that, they can track from, if they're looking for a red Mazda or, with partial license plate, number XYZ12, if as long as they're have permissions to share across other public safety entities across the nation, anywhere that car is picked up, it'll hit that plate and almost it's like a hot list. It'll send them a notification. They could call that that government entity, the sheriff's office, police office. Maybe it's in California or Massachusetts, Florida, wherever.
Exactly.
Right.
It's allowing the cops to connect the dots to close cases faster. Period. Yep. So we know where a vehicle is. We know where it's going to be. That's where we're going to go set up on that vehicle. And in the use for organized retail crime, think about someone that may hit multiple pharmacies in a day. That if they hit the first two, now we have their license plate. So now we're going to send it out to the rest of the pharmacies regionally. Be on the lookout for this car. If it comes into your property, don't let them in or call the police. So they're not going to do the transaction. They're not going to come in there and swarm the place because these organized retail crime associations, the folks doing this stuff, they're not dumb. They know what they're doing, and they're hitting these stores up for millions and millions of dollars every day. It's frightening. But the more that we can connect this data for them to be proactive instead of reactive, to be able to send the data to the police so the police can respond as they're pulling up to the store, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a more proactive approach to policing safety. It's making everybody more safer. It's making our law enforcement more efficient by having access. Here in the state of Illinois, I know that you guys, Motorola has the contract for state police, and I know they've been putting them all over the place in Chicagoland area, and I believe it's already starting to trickle down to our main interstates that go north-south. And so I know you guys have a big presence in Illinois on the LPR cameras, and it's going to continue growing. And what is it? I believe at CPE they said that fixed video or video will be almost 4 cameras to 1 person here in the next year or two, and I think we're getting there.
And I think we are getting there. It's a matter of connecting all these solutions together in our ecosystem. So just pivoting back to orchestrate, there's things that we could do with the LPR as well. So that the vehicle shows up at a casino, and it's a vehicle that is a green listed or red listed vehicle, security could be notified, or the concierge could be notified. Hey, I have a green listed vehicle showing up. This is his favorite drink, and we want to get it to him right when he pulls up. Weird use for LPR technology, but they're using it for those reasons to make their job easy. Not necessarily solving for safer, but solving for a gap that they had. They don't want to meet their customers' needs, but also keeping people outside their perimeter. A red listed vehicle that it shows up on the property. This car is coming up. We need to notify police. We need to put people out there, close doors, put up gates, and keep that vehicle from coming on our property.
Awesome, Joe. Well, hey, I appreciate your time today on my podcast, Push to Talk. I would love to have you back here in 6 months to a year, see what's changed with Motorola Solutions on your end, from first-person video to mobile video. And thank you again for being on here. Any last thoughts for the public out there about LPR or about first-person video?
Not necessarily those two technologies specifically, but they tie into something that our CEO, Greg Brown, has said about solving for safer, that solving is ongoing, ever-changing, based on the needs that we see from our customers, from the world of what's happening around us. So we're going to continue to evolve, whether it's first-person video, license plate recognition technology, connecting these solutions together and telling the story that only Motorola can tell to continue to solve for safer.
Awesome. I think you just said it right there. You said it best. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your time. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. This will be out soon. This is Eric Smith with Push to Talk. Everybody have a great day. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Eric.